morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Acacia Clement and Andy Serling here in the clubhouse studio at Aqueduct. And it's Saturday, but we're at the point where if it's not a complete and total washout, we feel like it's a brilliant sunny day as we are still on the turf. We're fast and firm. There is rain expected. We'll talk about some of our off-the-turf picks later in the day, but it's amazing. This is the fourth straight Saturday of rain.
Yeah. It's been so frustrating too. And, you know, the racing office did a good job carding the two turf stakes early in the day. So it looks like we should be able to run those on the turf, which is good news. And they both came up very fun races. And I mean, the poor turf horses, you look at the Noble Damsel, how that was affected in the last few weeks. And so it's good that we'll have the opportunity to hopefully run those on the grass. But God forbid we have a Saturday without rain in the forecast.
I've never seen anything like this. It's amazing. And we had such good racing the last couple of days here. And you look at some of the turf races, the 2-year-old races, how chock full they are. And it's frustrating for everybody. And I'm sure it's frustrating for you. We're horse players as well and understand that. And it's just been rough, but we'll make the most of it. And we'll talk about some off the turf picks for the later races today. But before we get in the card, we've got a 10-race card today. Head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200, and we will match the $200 of your initial deposit. I know this is all everybody's favorite slate. If you don't know by now that there's a middle pick 4, I don't know. We'll just keep reminding you, I guess. Races 2, 4, and 7 of our 10-race card today. Middle pick 4, pick 5s in races 1 and 6. We have $25 bonus, 100 each on Belmont at the Big A, Aqueduct, of course, and Laurel for Maryland Million. It's Maryland Million Day, as you corrected me earlier.
Yes.
And both Acacia and I, big fans of Maryland Million Day.
Yeah.
I love going to Laurel. I started going there back in the 80s. And you know, I think I've told you this. They were the first track to have a replay center.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I used to do the Maryland Million for years covering that day, and it's really fun. You know, I think it's any state-bred program pretty much. When you have that day, when you have the opportunity to highlight them, and the brainchild of Jim McKay, as we were talking about, for the Maryland breds and Maryland sired horses, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You know, it's the first one. I think it was the first showcase day in Maryland. I mean, back in the day, really it was Kentucky, Florida, and Maryland was third back then for breeding capitals. Really, you know, a lot of great history down in the state of Maryland, and Acacia and I were both waxing poetic about our times down in Maryland, be it at the Preakness, which we both loved going to. Also, what else do we have? We have the show. So as far as the show today, it's 2 to 2:30 and 4:40 to 5:30 on FS2. But we will be on, Acacia and Maggie and I will be on from 2 to 5:30 on YouTube. So from 2:30 to 4:40, you want to pay attention, go to YouTube, and we will be doing the show. Doing a lot of features. But
Andy always wanted to be a YouTube star, so this is his big opportunity. I think it's going to be your coming out party.
I really think it is going to be huge for me. I do. I think my YouTube.
Your career's about to take off.
You think so?
I can feel it.
How about TikTok for you? Are you thinking TikTok? Or is Chris Griffin, who's calling the race this weekend, he's kind of the TikTok star of racing?
You know what? He had some good TikTok content. I created a TikTok, and we helped with some help from Gabby with our NYRA social media team, but I have yet to actually get any traction. I feel like I'm just a little past my prime when it comes to TikTok.
My brother is on TikTok.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to handle it for the
Mitch
family.
Levitas is on TikTok a lot.
Well, there's a reason not to be on it. Anybody knows Mitch, our director.
He sends me a lot of TikTok videos.
Mitch is sort of like old laundry sitting around, you know? You just sort of, it's not really bad having around, but you just can't figure out how you still have it hanging around. Just kidding. We love Mitch. Mitch goes back a long, long ways. Mitch spent a lot of time in the studio, and of course he produced with Harvey at Harvey Pack all the shows for so many years. A lot of history there. Race number 1, the first of 3 races for me where my top choice is scratched. I think you were only one of them. Did you lose your top choice? And race number 1, I mean, you're either taking this horse Antenna, and we'll show the slow debut at Monmouth, and a horse that continued on with their slow race Saratoga, or you're taking the 6 Extra Dirty, the second-time starter for Chad Brown.
Yeah, I mean, they're both dropping for the first time. As far as Antenna, who we're looking at now, I think that she's going to kind of be, I guess, elevated and not in the best way for being beaten by a head on debut, but it was a very slow race, as you mentioned, and then, yes, she faced much tougher, running behind Just FYI, who would come back to win the Frizette. But she did absolutely no running that day. And I mean, Irad Ortiz last time just kind of protected her. He really didn't persevere with her at all. So I went with Extra Dirty, who at least held on, dug in a little bit to be fourth. I'm really trying. I'm
No,
trying
you're
to
right,
find
though.
something
You're
here.
right.
At least showed a little bit. And the second place finisher, Shimmering Allure, ran an okay fourth in the Alcibiades after that, improving her Beyer speed figure. So I gave the slight nod to Extra Dirty.
I saw the same thing. Chad's Brown's numbers, maiden special, maiden claimers on dirt in their second start, 6 for 17, 254 ROI. 2-year-olds, he is 0 for 3, but all 3 of them did finish second. Listen, the pickings are slim, and unless you want to take the By the Glass, the firster for Rick Dutrow, or the firster for Linda Rice, the 2-horse Union Bell, I don't know where else to go. And Linda Rice, not exactly a trainer that wins with a lot of first-time starters. But if you've got some idea with one of the firsters, go right ahead, because neither one of the ones we picked first and second have really done that much running. Race number 2, I'm very disappointed to see Soviet Excess out, a horse that I really like today. And occasionally we started debating up here before the show and talking with these people. And listen, at the end of the day, when there's a disagreement about odds, David Aragona is right a huge percentage of the time. And often when he's not, he'll text me before and say, I think you're right. And then we were talking about the fourth race, and we both thought maybe that Poppy Flower would be favored. I think this horse should be. You and I agree, and I'm not sure David doesn't agree with this, that this horse should be favored, Be Your Best.
Yes.
I thought she ran terrific at Del Mar.
I think she's the best horse in the field.
I don't think it's close.
As far as the odds,
I hope she's second choice.
yeah, that would be great. I mean, Be Your Best last time in the Del Mar Oaks, she was wide, whereas Anisette, the winner, was able to come up the rail and save all the ground. So it was a tale of 2 trips, really. I mean, Be Your Best never had cover, never saw the rail. It was the exact kind of trip in turf racing that when you're looking and learning about races, you say, this is the trip you don't want. And she still
agree.
ran really well to be second.
She could have run 6th in here,
Yeah.
5th or 6th, and we would have probably said we were interested in her
Right.
out of that race. And the truth of her is, she has been unlucky all season. I mean, yes, was she precocious last year? Yeah, but I don't think she's a horse that was just okay last year. I just think she's been unlucky. Okay, the Appalachian, she ended up making that early move, her first start of the year. Then the Wonder Again, she ran the best race by far. Prerequisite took advantage of the good rail,
Right.
the fact that she was setting a slow
She
pace.
was with the flow.
I thought she ran great in there. Then she chased outside again, going 1.25 miles, which might be a little bit far for her, but she had an against the track trip. I just think that she, with Soviet Excess out of this race, I think that she is absolutely supposed to win. In my opinion, I think she should be 6 or 7 to 5 in this race.
And she has a friend goat that hangs out
Does
with her.
she?
Yes.
Really?
Just that's really relevant information.
At the right
Yeah,
price,
betting.
I might
Yeah.
bet the goat
You would bet
against
the goat.
Eternal Hope.
Yeah.
Actually,
So that would
I
be
would
good.
be at
There
least
you
a
go.
little interested in the goat against
Yeah.
Eternal Hope, because, I mean, you have Eternal Hope 3rd, and I have her 4th. We'll take a look at the race, and you probably had her 4th, because I'm sure you had the 1 in there somewhere.
I did, yes.
And, I mean, let me put it this way, Keisha. What if you like Eternal Hope? Why wouldn't you want to take a much bigger price on Nisi Marie?
I completely agree. And the thing with this race, too, and looking at the Jockey Club Oaks, there are a couple of things. I think that as far as David Aragona making Eternal Hope the 5-2 morning line favorite, people see Charlie Appleby, Godolphin, a winner last time out against some of the other horses she's facing in here, Jamie Spencer coming back to ride her. It's just kind of a recipe to take money. That said, I mean, our NYRA handicappers are really, really sharp. And I didn't think it was that impressive of a race. It completely fell apart. You had Stephanie's Charm, who's out of this race, running off on the front end. Quarrel, who I actually prefer coming out of that race, was the one that was in no man's land chasing. And I think that she's
not impossible to get a
potentially the
piece in
one
here.
Speed. I was hoping to
is
get a
it-
price with her underneath.
Isn't Leave No Trace supposed to be in front in here, though?
Yes, I
mean,
agree. And to be
we'll
fair
get
about
to her in
Leave
a
No
minute.
Trace, we'll get to her in a moment. But as far as Eternal Hope is concerned, I interviewed Jamie Spencer afterwards. He said he was out of breath because he was really
funny.
working on her. He was great. I said, how is it being back at Aqueduct? He said, well, this way is better because I left in an ambulance last time. And I said, well,
remember
no.
that.
Yeah, that's the life of a jockey. But he was out of breath after really working on her to get there last time
Well,
out.
I mean, even in the notes, when they asked the connections about the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, they just sort of rolled their eyes and said, no, she's obviously not good enough, and they're not unrealistic. They know who she is.
Right.
The other thing is, why is she supposed to be better with less distance?
I totally agree. I think she wants more distance.
Yeah.
Though she's She's about this tall. She's teeny tiny. Yeah.
Well,
but it's one of those kind of typical European fillies that can run all day.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I didn't like that race. Frankly, I'd rather give Highland Grace another chance out of that race, but I don't want her either. And I think, you mentioned Leave No Trace. She actually has some turf pedigree. It's astounding. This has got to be it. If she doesn't run a step today, they got to breed her. They got to just retire her.
So I was looking at her for a long time because I actually wrote in notes towards the beginning of her career, looks like turf. And, she has plenty of pedigree. The Dam's 4 wins were on the grass. Sibling was a turf winner. Outwork certainly can get a turf runner. But my big concern is that her last 2 races were just so bad. It's almost kind of a, let's go to the last resort and try her on the turf because she's just not running well in the dirt anymore.
No, and I don't blame them. I bet her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. She ran extremely well in that race.
She ran fantastic.
That race, there is a chance that somebody can win out of that race. I see that the horse that should have won, the Chad Brown horse, did she run third? Raging Sea?
She ran in Saratoga.
She should have won in Saratoga last start.
Yes.
She ran very well.
Yeah.
She's in a race at Keeneland, I want to say, next Friday maybe.
Yeah.
So it is possible that before 2023 is up, somebody might actually win that ran in the most, it's a cursed race. Wonder Wheel, and yes, Wonder Wheel was a little opportunistic, but she wasn't bad. I thought her race there was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought
she
so
retired.
too. She had a very good 2-year-old season.
Awful. Yeah, no, it's a very strange race. I'm curious what she does. I'm just, because I'm a glutton for punishment, going to show Root Cause's last race. And I made a nice...
She did run the best race this day, I thought. She was the only one to make up ground.
I bet her.
So you just like to torture yourself.
This was a sickening beat. Well, she had a real trip 2 races back. In that super slow pace, she ran very, very well. And, to be fair, Fergal Lynch gave her a very good ride near. He saved ground. He was able to get through. It's sort of unfortunately, he tried to give the same ride to Activist Investor in the Virginia Derby, and he got blocked the entire stretch. It was just, watching it, I was in my apartment watching this. It was just excruciating because she just failed to get up. And as you said, nobody else made up any ground. And so she saved ground. But let me put it this way. She is going to be a considerably bigger price than Eternal Hope. And do you really think she's much less likely to win than Eternal Hope?
Well, I don't know. I know that Root Cause ran well last time, but
they weren't good horses.
Are we sure that she's very good?
Well, how good do you think Nisi Marie is?
I was surprised by her performance last time. Yes.
So I'm just saying, I think there's a real chance that Jockey Club Oaks was just a stinker of a race.
It's very
and
possible.
I'm going to go with that. That's going to be my opinion in this race. I could end up being wrong. They could run one too. But I'm questionable about that.
I do quickly want to give one comment about Highland Grace.
Go ahead.
I know that they skipped Saratoga with
races.
pointing.
Races 5, 7, and 10 are off the turf.
5, 7, and 10.
So we will adjust, put up our off the turf picks if you can for those races. Sorry, Acacia.
No worries. And they skipped Saratoga with the anticipation of coming back to the Jockey Club Oaks. But it was almost as if she was really training very hard coming into that race, and she just didn't look great prior to that. She looked a little bit drawn up, and she just was a little flat. I'm wondering if we're going to see her be a little bit stronger coming back the second off the bit of that layoff.
I've got her third. I'm going to use her. I can't resist any horse that Bonner Young has, but
because she ran really well, I thought, over at Belmont, and I think that there's some ability in there.
I have an important question, though. Why is Bonner Young listed as the breeder, but they use her full first name, Joyce?
I don't know. I've always wondered that.
Why not just have Bonner for both? I don't quite get it.
You know how the program
is the same
is very
but they
formal.
have Bonner there. I got to get that fixed. Anyway, we are off the turf the 5th, 7th, and 10th. No surprise. It just never stops. Race number 3 was completely and totally shredded by scratches in here.
Every horse I liked was out.
And isn't St. Selby going to be involved in the pace with Chateau? That's quite a matchup of speedballs. We take a look at his last dirt race. I'll tell you what, he runs this race, he'll win with Chateau in there. He ran super here. They knew.
He ran an excellent race, and he broke so sharpest of all, right to the front, took over, kind of had a little bit of pressure, and then pulled away. I thought that he ran an excellent race this day. I don't know about the decision to try on the turf last time out, but he's obviously got good dirt races. And going back to the main track, my one concern with thinking about maybe wanting a closer was the presence of Chateau, who was quickest of all last time out, but just seems to have completely lost his form, Chateau. So I'm thinking, I guess like you, that maybe FF Rocket could sit the trip.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my first 3 picks were
Me
scratched in
too.
this race, so I mean, you can sort of get down and, right, we're both looking for a closer. I think St. Selby's the horse to beat in
think
here,
so,
but
too.
supposed to take some pressure from Chateau and could soften him up, and always had a bit of a thing for FF Rocket. And Lolita Shimano doesn't win a lot of races, but her horses seem to run fairly well, often at big prices, so I'm with you in that race. Race number 4, we are on the turf for races 2 and 4, the 2 stakes. We'll take a look at the Intercontinental with Poppy Flower beating Bubble Rock, and this is one I'm guessing that, in retrospect, David would probably agree that maybe Poppy Flower. I mean, win or lose, I don't think there's a single handicapper that hasn't picked this horse.
She's like the one that everybody loves today, I think. My thought with Poppy Flower was twofold. Poppy Flower got the best of Bubble Rock in the Intercontinental, and then she ran badly in the Caress. And I think that the fact that they kind of put her on the shelf after that, they skipped the Smart and Fancy, giving her a little bit of time, coming back in here. And also Poppy Flower, I thought, looked the best that she had in the Intercontinental after a couple of races off that layoff. And shouldn't she potentially get the right kind of trip with the presence of Shoshana in here?
I agree. Shoshana's supposed to press the pace in here, and I just think Poppy Flower is logical because as we show the other closer in the race, Can't Buy Love, I got a thing for Can't Buy Love. I like her. I just don't know if she's quite good enough.
And she's very consistent. She's just not a winning type. And last time out, it was interesting. She actually broke running and then kind of took back. And she couldn't reach the top 2, finishing 3rd in that Monmouth race. She had been entered in the Smart and Fancy, but scratching when there was, surprise, some rain and softer turf that day. So we'll see her coming back here. But I remember interviewing Mike Trombetta, and he said, you know, she always tries. One of these days, she's going to get the big win.
I mean, that race, the pace held together, and she put in a good run
She did.
there. And I
She
wonder if
absolutely
Trevor will
did.
just try to be in front of Poppy Flower and hope it works out. So, Shoshana, my niece's name is Shoshana, and I don't think it was more than a dozen years ago, but maybe it was. She was with me one morning in Saratoga after the meet. No, before the meet, and we were with Nick Zito, and he was working out a 2-year-old, and the 3 of us were watching it, and I said, what's the horse's name? And he said, she doesn't have a name, and he said to Shoshana, my niece, he said, oh, you have a really pretty name. I'm going to name the horse for you.
That's cool.
So there was a Shoshana, and I'm telling you, it wasn't 15 years ago, because she's not that old. And so how is this horse back so quickly? By the way, she ran in Saratoga, so Shoshana was not there when she ran, but my mom came. She wanted to see the horse run, and I kind of warned my mom, might not be that good. She ran last in a 5-horse field, but she won her next start at Parks. My mom did not make the trip to Parks, though, but she did win her next day. But, I mean, I don't think this is much more than 10 years ago there was another Shoshana.
Yeah, I don't know. We've been seeing a lot of repeat names lately.
Yeah, well, there's
Saw
not.
a Caress
The
the
Caress,
other day.
Caress, the Jockey Club should change that name. I'm sorry. That's inappropriate to have a horse named Caress, and she actually is pretty good. She
Yeah,
won,
she is. But it's just odd that there's a
No,
stake
that
inside
should
of
never
it.
have happened. It should have been allowed to happen. Race 5 is now off the turf. Why don't we show the workout video for Purloin? We have no idea who's going to run in this race.
Yeah.
I hope they put the off the turf picks up. I'm 15, 16, 7, 2 on total guesses. I don't know if Cherie will stay in or not. Isn't Arrogate? Why not?
Yes, she went 10 and 2. A little bit, took some time to get going, but then had a big long stride. I mean,
what I
this just looks like a filly that wants to go long. And as we've seen from the Arrogates, they're kind of later developing types, and they can run on either surface. I think it's just kind of a typical 2-year-old work of what you'd expect from
And the
sire.
pedigree shows they can run on either surface,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
The second dam ran very well on the turf.
she was dirt
but
and turf,
yeah,
right?
She could do anything.
Probably better on dirt.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm 15, 16, 2, 5. Sorry, my fault there. For off the turf.
Go with the. I mean, we just went to the off the turf order. I don't know anything
I have
here.
no idea who's actually going to run. So 15, 16, 2, 5 for me. We've got 2 main track only runners. You've got Winning Touch debuting for Rick Dutrow, and then Philly's Finest debuting for Christophe Clement.
I wonder sometimes with these Mike Ryan horses. Now, Be Your Best, Mike Ryan owns them. Are these horses he bought and he ended up? Was he trying to pinhook these horses? Was he?
He
I
always
don't-
keeps some.
He does. Okay.
I remember actually, so yeah, 15, 16, 2-5. But I remember with Be Your Best that there was some conversation about potentially selling her after
Good idea not
her
to have.
debut, but
Did well not selling.
yeah,
He probably. I
absolutely.
mean, listen, maybe
But
he didn't
always
get the
keeps
price he
some.
wanted.
I mean,
but-
I remember he had some horses down in Florida for a while with Safi. He's obviously got some with Rick Dutcho, with Horacio. He always keeps some, and he's got, in my opinion, one of the best eyes in the business.
And this horse is a half to Sporting Chance, who was a nice Wayne Lucas horse who won the Hopeful
Yeah.
not that long ago. So there's pedigree, and then I've got the Clement Firster. It's all a Jack Oxley pedigree. The Third Dam is Beautiful Pleasure. Jack's a
so we'll
great
see.
guy. Jack's really one of the real good guys in the game. There should be more people like Jack Oxley, not just owning horses, but in life in general. And after that, I mean, there's looked like a lot of horses that probably wanted to run on the turf. I don't know.
Right. I know we both with the 2 Magic 8 Ball because she's run on dirt, but I know that she was actually entered in the turf before and scratched when it came off, so I don't know if she'll run. I mean, a lot of the others just have more turf pedigree, so
I probably
guess
should have had the
we'll
one in
see.
there if she stays in. It
Yeah,
feels
or
like
just,
she
you know,
she
we
should
don't
have been
know.
in there somewhere. We'll see who ends up being scratched. Obviously, it's very hard to know how the race is going to play out. We'll be back after a break with the late pick 5.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Nick Tamero has solved the Shoshana mystery.
Oh.
Today's has an H at the end.
Ah,
thinking-
so it is
I'm
technically
thinking Nick,
different.
maybe he may have misspelled my niece's name, but I'm going to let him off. Actually, he probably, I don't know. I would guess he would have asked me how to spell it. So anyway, so thank you, Nick. We solved it because it just didn't.
Good job, Nick.
I just didn't feel like it could have been that long ago.
Yeah. Well, one letter makes all the difference.
It was definitely after my father died. My daughter died in 07. So anyhow. All right, race number 6. We're on the dirt for the rest of the card, by the way, in case you didn't know. I don't know. Is 235 going to take money in here? Did 235 beat up on a weaker field last time? I'll tell you one thing about 235. They knew he was going to win this race, didn't they?
Yes, he took a lot of money this day. He was always in control, set the pace, just really never in doubt in this effort. My question is, can you do it again? Because it's been a long time between drinks since this guy had seen the winner's circle.
And I thought this track was very kind inside speed, and I thought he very much was with the flow of the race. So I prefer others, and I know you have, and we'll just go to the next replay with Quick Flash and Poppy's Pride, 2 speeds. I know that you have Quick Flash off the claim for Pat Reynolds on top, and that horse and Poppy's Pride figure to be forward here. The pace projector is a little bit odd to me in this race.
Who
Well,
do they have
one of the
in front?
reasons it was odd was I misnumbered the race. So that was part of my initial problem.
That'll
But
get ya.
isn't Quick Flash supposed to be closer than 5th, being that the horse was involved last time?
Yes, I mean he has come from off of it in the past, but that's usually when he has trouble at the break. If he breaks well, he's usually up close. I thought that this was a horse though that last time out. My theory with him, and to me, I had a really tough time with this race.
Me too.
My theory with him is that he never got a breather at all last time out. I mean, early on, Manny was working on him to keep up with Poppy's Pride. Early in the race, I mean, Air Show just got the perfect trip, sitting behind the two of them in that race. And then this one, he was really working on him in the stretch. Like he never got a chance throughout the running of the race to just kind of relax and get into the flow. So I thought that potentially he could get the trip in here today.
I'm not knocking any pick in this race because I agree with you. I had an extremely tough time. My problem with Quick Flash is he doesn't win.
No, I know.
He's got,
He's not the most trustworthy.
He has been a hanger supreme throughout his career. Scherzando, by the way, is starting to become a hanger of biblical proportions. I almost corrected the Eclipse tweet when they said when they won the last race, they broke their maiden. They had a tweet about how they something like gamely held off Scherzando, and I'm thinking, yeah, holding off Scherzando doesn't require gameness. I mean.
Yeah.
He's amazing, that horse. I mean, he could hang in any situation. I bet Beachwalker last time, and he had no chance. It was a slow pace. They scratched the speed out of the race. Print Rack was able to waltz around the racetrack. I thought the speed and rail were good. I thought the track was pretty fair. I want to give him another chance. Randy had good numbers off the claim in the past. I just thought he had no shot last time.
Yeah.
So in a race where I just don't like anybody in here, I know the pace projector has Poppy's Pride loose. I'm not sure I see it happening. I can't believe among the 5 and 7 they're just going to let him go.
And don't you think Dylan
In the
would try to be
6,
aggressive
yeah,
with 235?
Good day for Dylan yesterday, by the way, with 4
day.
wins.
Yeah.
And I got Ryan's Cat in there because he's run well and maybe he just need a little bit of a freshening. But like you
I
said,
know.
Acacia, it's just very hard to have a strong opinion here, which is why I'm happy to land a horse who's at least a price. Because
Yeah.
if I'm going to bet in here, I'm going to bet a horse that's a price.
That's fair. That's fair. This is a tricky one.
It's a hard race to like anybody.
Yes, it's really hard to have a lot of
I
confidence.
mean, for instance, I'll ask you this. Who's the horse to beat?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean,
I don't have any
guess.
idea who it is. I really
If
don't know who it
235
is.
runs his last race, but that's the question: can he run the last race?
With other speed in the race.
Exactly,
and-
with the presence of
and
Poppy's
a
Pride.
I have no clear understanding of, and I think, you know, as far as handicapping, if you don't know who the race goes through, it's always going to be difficult
Yeah.
because your first opinion is where do I stand on favorite / horse to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't even know who the horse to beat is, and I'm sure there are people here who have figured this race out, but maybe we'll get the winner, but I don't
luck
think either
to
one
them.
of us think we're going to be lucky if we do it. Race number 7 is off the turf, and I have no off the turf videos. If I had known, I thought you liked Blue Plate Special here. I was going to make fun of you for picking Blue Plate Special, and
No.
you've changed your pick. What are you doing here?
I wrote it down wrong. I was
You ruined my entire
finishing-
day.
I was doing the off the turf picks late. Well, late for me is like 9:30, and I was falling asleep last night. And then I woke up this morning, and I was like, "Why did I put the 14?"
I can't bet this horse. Horse beat one of the worst baby
He
fields
was.
of all
I
time.
had literally written in my notes, and yeah, I don't trust this horse. One thing I will say about Blue Plate Special is that 2 back, he was really resenting the kickback. Last time out, it was a dead rail day, and I don't know. He's a dark horse, so he's got that. But yeah, I do not
I'm not
like.
knocking anybody
do
here.
not
I
like
just didn't
Blue
like
Plate
this horse.
Special.
I mean, I'm not listening.
Yeah.
Anyone could win here. I'm just having fun. Shouldn't this horse be running in Florida? But shouldn't a horse named Blue Plate Special be running in Florida? Isn't that like the Blue Plate Special, like the early bird special or
Yeah,
something?
he is a New York bred though.
You make a great point. All right. Sorry, Naj. We were trying to get him out.
The 11's a Florida bred actually. if
He
you want
is,
me to
and we are
remember.
glad to have him
Yeah.
here. I just look at him and I just thought
He's just-
he had the
yeah.
best dirt races of anybody here.
He's got the class drop.
Yeah, and I just thought he's dropping and he's just running against better horses.
Yep.
And I didn't really like the 14. I'm hoping that Built to Last can still run at some point. I tried him a little bit last time. He was terrible in his last start. And I thought Hatch a little interesting off the claim for Jamie Begg. I was going to mostly go 11s and 5s here.
And as far as Hatch is concerned, last time out, actually, Manny Franco lost his crop, and you could see in the running of the race that he was really reluctant to switch leads. And you know, I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I mean, he's a little bit of a quirky horse in general.
He
but
is not exactly a winning type.
No, he's not. He's
No,
not.
he's
yeah.
had his chances.
But at least he's run well in the dirt.
He was on a very, very weak field last time,
Yes.
though. But in this race, he has to be considered a contender. Race number 8. I don't know, the 8th and 9th actually were good races and interesting races. And race number 8, I don't think there's any argument that the horse to beat is Dot Stoller. I know that he didn't run well in that race in Saratoga, and here's his race closing weekend at Belmont when he held off Milton the Monster. And Milton the Monster does like a wet track, so the rain could actually help him in this race. But I don't have a knock on Dot Stoller. The only knock I'll say is, you know, when Linda Rice's horse were running great, he ran lousy, and now he's had some time off. And maybe Linda thought, you know what, let me give him some time and get him ready for a winter campaign.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, look, she claimed him last fall for $50,000. He's been remarkably consistent. Really, his only bad effort was last time out, and he takes a class drop since then. And so, you know, you do wonder, is that a negative? I mean, he was kind of the only one of the barn at that time, it seemed, that didn't run well.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, it was also a lot of horses that she had claimed in Kentucky that were waiting to run, or maybe horses that were stepping up or kind of finding their form, whereas he was one that we knew what he was. He'd been around for a little while, and maybe he just tailed off with some frequent racing and needed a little time. That's possible.
Yeah, it feels like Linda very well may have just given him a break to get him ready. And listen, she claimed him for 50 and made $130,000 with
That's
him.
how you play
so
the
if
claiming
somebody
game.
claims him, that's okay. So I don't think it's a negative drop. I don't know where she's supposed to run the horse. I think he fits. I think he's very much the horse to beat. I'm just going to give the 2 another chance and here think about it. And think about it, did spend a lot of time on a good rail 2 back, but he also had significant trouble in that race and got the job done. I probably should have shown that replay. And then last time, Prisoner just sort of ran off on them, and it came up a fast race, and I thought it was dangerous, and I don't want to let Ray Hale beat me again. I constitutional lawyer, I picked him last time. I was so annoyed I didn't pick him again yesterday when he won. I was glad for Ray.
Talk about Dylan. It was this heads-up ride from Dylan, putting him on the front yesterday.
Yeah, coming through on the inside like he did, going through, and then a favor didn't run. Victorious Wave is not impossible. Now, we don't really have Victorious Wave. I've already got him 3rd. You've got him nowhere. I feel like the going has gotten tougher in here, but to be fair, he's in pretty good form.
He is. It's just, do you trust him?
Well, here's the thing. I've had enough of gemography, and I don't think he's good enough to beat these, okay? Milton the Monster, obviously, not impossible. Into the Sunrise, Tom, good luck with him on the dirt. He hasn't run on the dirt since debut. He didn't do any running. Emerald Forest, I don't love his form particularly, even though he is dropping down. Royal Tryst is very hard to like, and Jake Rock seems to have lost his form. So it's not that I particularly like him, but at least he's in good form in a race where there's a lot of horses. I just don't know if they're really running very well lately.
No, it's very true. He's won his last 3 races, and to be fair, with the drop in for the 50 off of the first level allowance win, I mean, he was running for 20, 2 starts back, and if you go to the 2 other thing, I mean, those races are just way too tough for a horse like this. So I get it. I get it. I did give a little look to gemography. I thought the fact that we saw Swiftsure come back, and yes, he was the controlling pace in his next start, but he ran so well with actually a 98 Beyer speed figure. This is a reclaim for Rudy with gemography. I thought that he could potentially pick up a piece in here.
But it's
we'll
the
see.
entry, you know, it's the old
I
entry
know,
thing.
I know.
I'm not, you know, I don't think he's impossible. I shouldn't have just glossed over him. I prefer the other half who occasionally runs fast races
I've
and
always
likes it
got
wet.
some love for Milton the Monster.
Yeah, I just hate entries, and
I'm with you on that.
It's terrible. So we'll see what happens in race number 8. I am looking forward to race number 9.
This is a fun one.
You and I disagree in this race. You've got Strobe on top. I'll show him losing the Iowa Sprint, and if you look at Ultimate's PPs, you can understand why it was a big price that day. I don't like this horse, Acacia.
He has to definitely, if he was coming in off of the 3rd place finish in the True North, I agree, it would be a lot easier to have some confidence in him.
Feels like he's tailed off.
And to be fair, Ultimate, yes, came back to win. He did regress as far as his Beyer speed figures, as did the 3rd place finisher.
Regressed a ton of points. I mean,
right.
That figure sticks out like a sore thumb.
I agree. But there have been 4 horses to run back. They were all winners, 3 of them in stakes. And then the other 2 horses, I know that they were further back in that race. They did improve quite significantly coming out of that race. And so I don't know. I wish that he ran a little bit better at Churchill last time out. And he was running against Bango, and he was hard-ass to get out to the front that day. But he just stopped.
Should have run a little bit in there.
He should have run a little bit. He
That's
really
what worried
didn't.
me.
I'm just hoping, and look, today is the day that he's got to turn things around and run back to some of those better races that he had.
But he's got to deal with this horse, Durante, who's in monster form. And One thing we know about Durante, Manny is taking no prisoners with this
No,
horse. And you look at his last
definitely.
race, you can look at either of his last 2 races, and he ran extremely well
Yeah,
in there.
he did.
And I mean, I don't love him because of the situation with Stroh, but he's in raging form.
He is, and you can look and say, well, you beat Vittorio, who never wins. But there was also never
Destroyed this.
it was never a moment. The short comment, it always says lunge at start. He didn't lunge. To me, lunging with horses at the beginning is them like lurching forward.
Right.
And that's not the case. He leapt up a little bit at the break, but he was still quick enough going forward. And it was because he was antsy in the gate, and he's a high energy type of horse. So he really wasn't affected at the start. I didn't think.
I agree with you on
Yeah.
that. I agree. He's in great form. I'm just a little worried that he's got to deal with Strobe, and I thought the pace would be hot. And I mean, I know he's not a winning type, but isn't Gunnet an interesting horse dropping down and getting back in the air? I thought he's been
agree.
running great
I
for
nearly
Linda.
put him on top. I was all over the place. I was like, what do I do
I
in
could've.
here? Maybe he was a horse who could potentially get the trip as well. I mean, he ran huge at Belmont 2 starts back.
I agree. I thought he got a good trip in there.
He did, but he ran
some,
very well.
I do have some scratches here to give people.
Okay.
The MTOs are out of races 2 and 4, the 9 and 10 and the 4th, and the 12 and 13. Sorry, should we digress with this and tell people, or we'll continue to talk about this, and then I'm
There's
not.
Gunnet.
Yeah, no, I think Gunnet's in good form. He's not a winning type either, but he feels like he's been better for Linda.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to dismiss him in here. I really like Provocateur here. I thought Provocateur ran extremely well in his first race, off the layoff, his first race for Belmont. He took a step back last time. I know that pace wasn't particularly fast on paper, but the pace did basically come apart in there. And
He was close to where New York traffic was, though.
yeah, I want to get him third off a layoff. He got a good post on the outside. He's supposed to get pace to run at, but he has the speed to put himself close. I thought he could be in a good stalking spot, and today feels like a now or never day for Provocateur to run a race. He's got to be good enough to win, because this is a good field, but I'm going to take him today. I thought he was okay in here.
My concerns with him, and I think today will be a really good test for him and where he stands. From a physical perspective, and I agree, 2 back he ran very well, but he never went on physically. He never changed, he never grew, he never developed as you would hope would be the case as a 4-year-old. And so I'm wondering if that's going to show in the races. I don't know. Is that race 2 starts back exactly what he is?
I think it's good enough to give him a
Yeah.
chance to win here. I mean, he forced the pace on the inside. He took back. He made another run. He hadn't run in a long time. So I feel like if he gets back to that race and he has a good post, he can stalk on the outside, he can absolutely win this race, and his price should be fair. So I've taken him. I don't
Sure.
love him, but I want to bet him. Okay, some scratches to give you besides It's a Keeper is out of the 4th. I don't know what they were actually waiting for. I'm not quite sure, but she's out. The 5th race. The 3, 4, 5, 6 are out. So channel loop through dynamic pricing. The 8, 9, and 11 are out. So as of now, the 1, 2, 7, 10, 12, 15, 16 are in. 1, 2, 7. I should add Purloin higher in there. And race number 7, I don't need to scratch the 10th yet. Race number 7, the 6 War Terminator, the 9 Starry Night, and the 10 Billy's Got Issues are out. So War Terminator. Also, there are other scratches in there already, but those are the new scratches. All right.
Thank you.
And if we get some 10th race scratches, I will read them if I get them. But
All right.
Chris can handle them. My guess is that Chris is not going to have to call the Meadowlands tonight. What do you think?
Maybe not.
They've
Maybe not.
yeah, they've had to cancel quite a few as well, but they're racing on the weekends, and it rains every weekend. Race number 10, it's very hard. This race wasn't easy on the turf. At least you and I could have taken the 9 and the pedigree in there. I just put the 16 on top in here, the MTO for Linda Rice.
Even
I like
though his
these
first
kind
race
of
was on the
moves.
turf.
Yeah, but Linda will go turf to dirt
I
with
agree.
second-time
Yeah,
stars, no win.
absolutely.
So I'm just sort of trusting in Linda Rice in here.
So I was actually in the paddock for his first race, said that he was not 100% fit. I think that that's a good race that he comes out of. I know it's on the turf, Red Burgundy. We did see him back to win pretty nicely the other day, wiring the field against the fillies. And so you would absolutely assume, I think, from a fitness perspective, second time out, and the fact that he was entered main track only, vote of confidence. And I didn't know too much more beyond that. I put Eric from Miami, who ran a little bit on the
Do you know an
dirt
Eric or something down in Florida that you want to?
I do not.
No
I do
Erics in
not.
Florida?
Didn't Frank Miramonte tell a story about this name?
I don't
you on
remember. I
Talking
just remember on
Horses?
Dogging Horses him telling me about giving out the tip he had from Jose Cameo. This is at the 8th pole now.
Maybe I'm
Go check
making
him
that
out.
up, but I
Doris
thought
actually ran
he
back.
knew somebody. As
I might not have been listening.
No, I think Richie knew the story of an Eric from Miami. I think that's
Eric
somebody's friend.
Donovan, our boss, was in Miami
Yeah.
last week, so it could
Could be
relate
that.
to that one.
Could be
yeah.
that.
He went down and saw the Giant game. I think they're at the 8th pole too. They've been the 8th pole in a lot of their games. It's a complete guess. I've got unaudited second. The 2 if he stays in, because when Mike Maker stays in, he seems to do well.
Well,
and
I will say about unaudited really quickly. He was a late scratch.
Take your time. Talk for 10 minutes.
He was a late scratch in Saratoga because this was on the 18th. He reared up and he flipped while saddling. I mean, even in his 2 races prior to that, even in the August 3rd race, I mean, he was screaming. He was really, really revved up. So I think that more than anything, the gelding should help him today.
So Maggie's supposed to be paying attention to see how he's behaving. Oh, he's a new gelding today. She was really excited because I know Maggie can't wait to be hanging out in the rainy paddock all day.
She cannot wait. Yeah, poor Maggie. Has been
We're complaining because we'll be
out
upstairs
there
in
all of the wet
inside,
weather.
but she'll be outside.
I did it a couple weeks ago, out in the rain there, and Maggie's been stuck with most of the wet days.
Yeah. Well, at least you can hang in the overhang, right? You can hang.
Yes, but when you go up to the winner's circle.
But it's also
there's no
chilly
cover.
today, so it's a little worse.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. Chris Griffin's just getting started, though. He's going to be up with a reprise scratch and change. But first, you need to head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200. We will match the $200 of your initial deposit. Yep, you know it. The middle pick 4. We're just going to keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Races 2, 4, and 7, middle pick 4. Races 1 and 5 for the pick 5s. $25 bonus if you bet 100 or more on Kier and Laurel on Naira Bets, and you opt in. Maryland Million Day. Those
That's
are
right,
fun
just
races.
1 million.
I was last there in 2007, I believe.
Wow.
Jay Privman and I was telling you about it.
Cool.
We did it. Jay and I were on a show for Masson there. And what else do we have? Oh, 2 to 2:30 and 4:40 to 5:30 in FS2. But we will be on, Acacia, Maggie, and I, from 2 to 5:30 on YouTube. Special, is there like a special YouTube outfit we should have or something?
I don't know.
Hazmat suit or something, maybe?
I don't know, but there was
Isn't
one
her?
day at Belmont when it was me, Paula Duca, and Richie on YouTube, and Richie started doing trackside confessions, and things got a little wild.
I'm not going to do that. Just so you know, there will be no confessions whatsoever. I do have some New Yorkers, so maybe I'll be reading them on there. Be like, like when, was it Andy Kaufman that used to like go do the comedy things and then he'd read like Catcher in the Rye and he'd read books?
Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah,
Wow,
I
what a
think
choice.
that was something that Kaufman used to do. Anyway, been a pleasure. We'll be spending a lot of time together. Acacia's stuck with me all day long. Anyway, Chris Griffin is here this weekend. He will be next with a reprise Scratch and Changes. Johnny, I'll be back though next week.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.